We all know where plants belong, at the bottom of the food chain, and that there is also no way that they can eat you. Simple, right? Well, not quite. What if I was to tell you that the tables have turned, that some of these plants have defied the laws of nature and have grown an appetite for meat, constantly gobbling down creatures? From plants that swallow monkeys to plants that use bubble traps. Sit tight as we tell you why, if you ever see a piranha plant, stay far away. If you are a lover of video games, then you probably know of the Nintendo Mario franchise. And if you do, then you've probably come across the piranha plant. While it might not chase you down in real life, there is a piranha plant out here that lies in wait for its prey, the Venus flytrap. This is as close as it gets. It is hands down one of the most famous carnivorous plants. Its leaves open up to expose what looks like a wide mouth with a set of long, spiky teeth. It is so wide that larger insects such as cockroaches, spiders, and even small reptiles find themselves trapped here. It is the sweet nectar that lures them in. Contrary to what you might think, this scary plant doesn't snap shut immediately after a bug gets on it. This is because the opening and closing take a lot of energy, which it doesn't want to waste on an unworthy meal. But how is it able to tell apart the leaves and dirt from the insects? Does it have a mind of its own? Well, this plant has a few tricks up its sleeves. Leaves. Any living creature landing on these leaves will keep on moving, still in search of the promising sweet-smelling nectar. This is therefore bound to trigger more than one of the sensitive hairs in the flaps. These triggers are more like starter guns. Once they go off, it's showtime. The snap trap closes and the meal is secured. Enzymes are released and digestion begins. The leaves remain shut and an antiseptic juice is released to keep the bacteria away, hence preventing rotting. Who doesn't love a clean, fresh meal? At this point, the leaves remain completely sealed and take their sweet time to suck in those nutrients. It can take another 5 to 12 days before these leaves can open again. As for the remains, well, they are washed away or blown away to make room for the next meal. It may seem ruthless, but this plant will quickly become a buddy if you have a housefly or mosquito nuisance. Another plant that insects have to worry about on top of their usual predators is the sundew. It can be Portuguese, Australian, or English. It just really depends on where it is found. But that shouldn't worry you because they have pretty much the same feeding habits. This carnivorous plant grows in areas where the soils are dry and low on nutrients. For it to survive, it needs to get nutrients from eating insects. Its leaves are equipped with hairs that produce glue-like substances that make it look like raindrops on leaves. This, together with the yellow flowers and strong sweet scent, is what attracts the insects. Thirsty bugs then end up flying themselves into a sticky situation. Get it? Once the insect is stuck, the leaves coil inwards, trapping the insects even further. At this point, the insect has two choices: die from suffocation or die from the exhaustion of trying to free itself. Digestive enzymes are then released to break down the insect and voila! The sundew gets its nutrient top-up. Now, the sundew might trick you into thinking that these plants only swallow small prey, but you'd be surprised at how much more they can take. Meet the tropical pitcher, one of the largest meat-eating plants. You can also call it the monkey cup. This is because monkeys use them to drink rainwater. Think of them as nature-given water glasses. The big monkeys obviously have no trouble drinking from them, but the small ones? Well, they are not so lucky, as they often end up on the wrong side of the food chain. Small frogs and insects also fall victim. The inner walls of the tropical pitcher produce sweet nectar that lures in the prey and also wax that forms a smooth slide right into the death trap. Once at the bottom of the pitcher, these animals have no way out. More often than not, the pitchers are filled with fluid, so the unfortunate creatures are more likely to die from drowning than exhaustion from trying to escape. Either way, it doesn't really matter because the tropical pitcher is never in a hurry to digest, as this can take up to 2 months to complete digestion. Whatever remains after the plant has gotten the nutrients is cleaned away by insect larvae. Now let's take a look at another carnivorous plant, the cobra lily. As you might have already guessed, it gets its name from its resemblance to a striking cobra and also the fact that it is just as scary. Well, mainly because it also prefers its meal alive. As you can probably tell by now, these carnivorous plants dwell in nutrient-lacking areas. Don't get me wrong, this is not to say that they do not make their own food. They do, actually, and these insects are just a side dish, not the main course. But first, they must lure them in. For the cobra lily, this is where the sweet nectar comes in. But that's not all. It also has false exits that trick the insects into thinking that they have a way out when in fact, they are spiraling themselves further into the trap. The cobra lily leaves are also partly translucent, which makes the trapped creature even more confused. This leads to exhaustion and eventually death. The cobra lily may also decide to deliver a quicker death by just drowning the trapped animal because it has the ability to control water levels inside. Once the creature passes away, the bacteria take over and proceed to break it down. The cobra lily then gets to enjoy a nutritious bug stew. Delicious. If you thought the cobra lily was scary enough, then you haven't met the plant that cries tears of death. The Byblis liniflora. Byblis liniflora is named after Byblis, a Roman god granddaughter. And like her tears, those of a liniflora are deadly. Not to the plant, but to the bugs that come in contact with the tears. It produces a clear, sweet liquid known as mucilage and is sometimes referred to as a rainbow plant. This is because when the mucilage is exposed to sunlight, it glows in rainbow colors. It is also here that some bugs meet their death. The mucilage forms an adhesive trap where the insects get stuck and are broken down by enzymes produced by the colored leaves. While most of these carnivorous plants bank on flying and crawling insects, the water wheel plants are a little different. For starters, they are aquatic plants that are found in fresh, nutrient-lacking water. As such, their diet is mainly composed of underwater creatures such as tadpoles, small fish, and mosquito larvae. They have traps on their stem that slam shut within a matter of milliseconds. The insects are trapped with no way of escape and eventually pass away. The digestive enzymes are produced, and the rest, as they say, is history. Another interesting aquatic predatory plant is the bladderworts. They are the only ones that use bubbles to trap prey. These free-floating plants have no roots and are the only ones that use bubbles to trap prey. Once an insect comes into contact with the trihairs, the bubble opens and the prey is then sucked in along with water. All this happens at a lightning speed, so fast that it is actually considered the fastest plant suction trap. Lucky for most bugs, this plant can only digest small prey such as protozoa. Phew. But are they lucky enough to steer clear of moccasin plants? Like most eating plants, they lure in their prey using their sweet scent. A lot of insects will probably tell you of how irresistible the sweet scent is, but they probably didn't live to tell the tale. This is because once the insects fall into these moccasin-shaped pitches, there's no escape route. The pitches are in fact translucent, which only causes more confusion to the unfortunate insect as it tries to escape. It gets confused to the point of exhaustion, hence knocking itself unconscious. Once the insect is out, well, you know the drill. And by the way, where do vegans stand when it comes to these meat-eating plants?